Yeah. Hey, Mike here with Canadian Musician. I'm at the Rivoli in Toronto with Scott and Dave from Victoria, BC's current Swell, fantastic folk rock band who are launching their 5th album, Ulysses, tonight. And they're well lubricated here after an afternoon on the patio. But thanks for joining me, guys.
Well, the sun's out, you got to stay hydrated.
I got the burn on this side thing going on from the first, that first Canadian sun of the year.
His first desperately needed sun.
That base coat, you need to get that base coat early in the spring so you can get it going for the summer, I guess.
Nice. So yeah, obviously Ulysses' guys' 5th album, I believe 2nd on Network, is coming out tonight, or today, I guess I should say. So apparently for this album, you guys are the 2 main songwriters, and you kind of took a different approach for this one from your last few, in the sense that previously the 2 of you would write separately before entering the studio. But from what I've read, you guys, I guess, were writing primarily together before you entered the studio for Ulysses. With that, I guess, why take that approach this time around, and what impact did that actually have on the songs, do you think?
I think that, to be honest, it's not a new approach. It's honestly like our first approach. Like when we first started writing music, we started writing music together, and then as we grew older, we we were living together at the time and got girlfriends and moved into different places, and nothing really changed with our relationship or anything. We just simply didn't have the opportunity to spend as much time together, and then. So when this record came around, we just really made a conscious effort of I love writing music with you, and I feel like our best material is always when we work together. So we just made more of a conscious effort of let's get together every single day this week and next week and just hang out and write music. And it was awesome, such a fun. It was about this time last year, and it was just us sitting in the sun in Victoria, writing music. It was amazing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's that tough thing because as we, like Scott said, as we lived separately, and you're still a songwriter, and so the songs just come and you can't really stop them, and so the last summer it was really fun to be man, I got this great idea, and you're want to work on it together, and we're yeah, and then we're okay, so tomorrow let's work on it, and then so all that day you'd be just your brain would be percolating, and you get together, and man, it was great to take it back to that, because it's really fulfilling, and especially if you have a good idea, or if someone has a good idea, like Scott had the idea for Who's With Us, and it was part of a chorus and 3 chords, and there was just he was I don't know about this, and I was just this song is freaking great, I really want to work on that together, and then so we have this thing where he'll let me in on that, and I'll try to let him in on my stuff too. And sometimes we'll just come together with nothing and just be start. It's really fun like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel it always starts from a riff or something, but sometimes it's really small. Sometimes it's a couple things, and sometimes it's a half-written song, and we finish together. But it worked out really well. I'm really stoked on the way we got to get together and write more together. So. Yeah.
On the previous albums, when you would write separately until you got to the studio, would you be bringing completed songs into the studio, or was there still that collaborative aspect about it?
I think there's always some aspect of collaboration, but it'd be more just a minuscule amount of everyone in the band. Even when we write a song together, the band will come in, and sometimes it'll change so much that you realize that you've kind of things have been written in the studio, but in the past, it's kind of if the song's pretty much written, there's just a bunch of arranging, and
it's mostly arrange. Yeah, I'd say it'd be a lot more arranging, and maybe some ideas would be added, but for the most part, it's the song could still be played the same way, just in a different, a slightly different arrangement. Which is still a lot of fun. We still kind of do that, where it's okay, I got this fully finished song, and that's still awesome when that happens, It's oh man, I love this song. I still get super jacked on playing songs that I necessarily didn't have anything to do with, besides maybe some arrangement ideas or, some guitar work ideas. It doesn't even matter. It's just if I love the song, we love playing it, and it's awesome,
Do you guys have similar or differing approaches to actually writing a song? Like, does one of you generally start with, like you said, a riff, and one starts with the lyrics, or is your approach pretty similar?
I don't even know my approach. To be 100% honest, it's always different. Like sometimes I'll just like a lyric will be like, it's always different. Sometimes I'll just be messing around on a keyboard or a guitar or just in my head. Like sometimes I'll just be reading a book and a lyric will pop into my head and I'll write the whole song in my head and then I have to like put it to a guitar. So I don't, like that's why I like messing around with different instruments as much as possible for myself, is because I find like sometimes I'll pick something up and be like, oh, I wrote a song with this diddly bomber or like some random thing that is not even an instrument, which, and we may not ever use that song. I don't know. Like, do you have a consistent?
I don't think it's always like, like you pick up a guitar and you try to play it, but like one of the things that I really started with that this album sparked was, for example, Scott had this idea for the song called Gunshots, and he had like a good part of the song figured out, and I time out.
Take 2 seconds, guys. Is it okay? I heard that you need a piece of equipment for tonight.
Yeah.
I'll let you finish this interview. Can you switch to the other table after? I'll go get the piece of equipment with him.
Okay.
Are you fine with that?
Yeah.
Or you want me to stay?
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, you can go and grab it. That's great.
I'll miss you.
I'll see you tonight, man.
All right, I'll
Sounds
see you
good.
tonight.
Okay. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. Hey, did you talk to Steven?
No, I haven't talked to Steven.
Call them now because they might be already going to get it.
Okay.
I think they might be already going to
If
get
they
it.
haven't gone, I'll go with them.
Yeah,
No
make
problem.
sure you talk to Morgan and Steven first.
Okay, I'm doing it.
Sorry about that. Hopefully you can edit that out.
Yeah, no worries, man. It just makes it more natural.
Okay. We're back.
I was saying, writing from the angle of, Scott had the song called Gunshots.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, this song's great. And it started with him like strumming like 4 chords. And so I was like, oh, maybe I could try, I got this idea to try like sort of like almost like a Jimmy Page style, like open tuning bit. And so I wrote this guitar part for that song with open tuning. But now, since then, it's like that's my muse has been like messing around with open tuning, because it makes your brain shift from like, usually you play a C chord and you know that you're probably playing an F chord after that, and the G's you just can't, you get locked in.
You get locked in, yeah.
So like with open tuning, it's like all of a sudden you're like, your brain is unlocked and open, and it's really cool. But like definitely cool part about like working on stuff together is like sometimes a song will already be pretty constructed and it's just like a lyrical thing and that you might add or
like the Rolling was a song that we were, kind of wrote the song, and then while we were playing with it in this, in the studio or just before the studio, everyone's like, oh, we need another verse on this song. It's too short. It needs to keep on going. It feels so good. And I was like, okay. So then when we played it live once or 2 times before we went to the studio, I just repeated the first verse. And I was like, okay, well, that's a cop-out. Like, I can't do that. And I was like, Dave, you want to just, we were in the studio, I think, an hour before I was supposed to sing vocals on the song. I was like, let's figure out, you want to help me write this last verse, kind of thing? Because, I want it to be good. I want to have, a good ending, not just neat filler. Just okay, yeah, so that's, it's fun to have that. And it's good to have that. And it's we always just want to make the best record collectively as we can, so having people to help along is awesome, I think.
And we both we're both into, there's this kind of we're both into it, but we're also there's this little trusting part of the way that we can work together where we could feel free to spitball ideas about anything. We'll be like, what if we made this about, and you just start thinking about stories or where the song could go. And it's fun to have someone to bounce ideas off, because in your own head things sound crazy, and then I pass it to Scott takes it a totally different direction. All of a sudden you find yourself in these places that you could never just go just yourself, or that you'd be afraid to. So it's fun.
That actually brings up what my next question was about the lyrical approach. When you're writing together, I would think if you're writing by yourself, you could be more personal, maybe more open, and just essentially less guarded. But is that the case, or do you guys find you actually bring out more out of each other lyrically?
I don't know about Davers, but when I work with Davers, I really admire Dave's lyrical ability. So when I work with Dave, I feel a lot more is brought out for the better. I really get right behind the lyrics when we work together, because it's not just like, it's never just filler. There's always like a really good meaning or like story or something, like, really great behind it, instead of just, so like, because like I'll admit that like I write songs sometimes, I'm like, I'm just gonna write this song down, and this is like, and it might not be just like filler, it's like kind of a story, but it's not like, like some of the time it's just like, get it written, oh, it sounds good, looks good, makes sense, awesome. But sometimes like I find like every time we work on songs together, it's like, man, this story idea is awesome. Like, I like really get jacked on like, wow, how did we come up with that, kind of thing. So, and then, like that happens sometimes by myself too. Like, wow, sometimes you just lock into an idea. Like, I feel like Dave's One Day I'll Be Rich, he wrote a song, One Day I'll Be Rich, and you just like, it's one of those songs like you have an idea and you're like, I'm gonna write this song right now, because it's just like, or like when like Booze in Hell, like I had a song that like you just like, I got this song for this, like this idea, and it's just, it all makes sense and comes together. It's great. Yeah. But I feel
there's like a train running in your mind, and it's just like you get the idea, and like 4 minutes later it's done. Like the train is kind of like, you see it coming and it's like, oh, it's past, and you're like it just happens sometimes that like where those songs you're like, I wish that I could have got help, right? Like with something, but it just like, it comes so easy. It's kind of rare. But even like,
I wish it wasn't rare. I wish it was just like, oh, I got another great idea. Bam, done. Hit. Yeah.
I found like with I got a song, Man of Maps, on this record that I wrote, that for me it was really hard to get out of my own way, because there were so many ideas, like not just chords and like music, but parts and how they all fit together, and all these lyrics I had, like, because sometimes you just like, the ideas are, like I said, the train came and went, and there's so much like crap on paper, and then like just like having Scott there to be like, I'm like, I think this is junk, because it's just like, it doesn't flow, the parts are all disjointed, and then having him just see it from the outside and be like just trim this and this, and then just let that one part breathe. Yeah. And you're like, oh, and all of a sudden you get this perspective, and that's just, I just count my lucky stars for the partnership we had formed 10 years ago. So it's really great.
That sounds awesome. Kind of similar to that's great songs like a Rolling Stone apparently started as like 20 pages of like stream of consciousness that just got pared down to a few verses. Yeah. So you kind of really never know where something great could come out of it.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
The kind of speaking of that, as far as your influences, like when I listen to your guys' records, and in particular Ulysses, it sounds like there's classic influences in there, as far as like the Byrds and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and even some Tom Petty I hear in certain aspects. But I find what I hear as possible influences isn't always accurate when I actually talk to the artist. Like, as far as you guys, is there a clear influence on you guys? Do you even think about that?
I think it's just like for me at least, it's just like a ton of different influences, like I think that like there's some stuff that's kind of like in my bones that will like always whenever I go to pick up a guitar, it's going to come out a certain way. That is, from growing up listening to what I grew up listening to. But like, we still try to take some modern influences, I think, too, with some, like we dabbled in it, like some different instruments, like synthesizers and stuff, for this record, to try new things, because we were always trying to push ourselves, like instruments and songwriting and everything. And so I think it's just like a collection of bands, new and old, that we were trying to like go off of, and using like crazy reverbs that we've never used before, but we're like, and stuff like that. I don't know, do you?
Yeah, I mean, specifically, there's a lot of bands, but there was I think Scott's really good for like, he absorbs a bit more new music than some of the guys in the band, and so you'll be talking about, like, I remember him showing me this like Dr. Dog track like years ago that I had never heard of. I was like, wow, that is the fattest kick drum, like such beautiful reverbs, and just like lots of space in this song, and it's cool to think that, hey, maybe that influenced us in some way, you know. And after he showed me that, and we all reflected on some of the Dr. Dog stuff, and the Nathan Sabatino, who produced their last 2 records, he came up and produced our record, because we just thought tonally, there's a lot of things that we wanted to accomplish on the record that we knew we couldn't do ourselves, and we needed someone that was like a bit more versed in some of that.
The technical aspect.
Yeah, the technical aspects.
The engineering of like how to act, you know, like sometimes we can make a tone, but like trying to record that tone and make it feel like when you're playing it, to actually feel it when you're just listening to it by pressing play is like is a massive beast, you know. And trying to capture that, I think, is very difficult. He did a great job of it, I think. So,
Did Nathan have an impact on the actual songs themselves, or did he essentially leave the songs be and concentrate mostly on the vibe and the technical aspects of recording, or what was his impact on the record?
yeah, he helped with one song chorus. For the chorus, we kind of just felt like the song was kind of going on and not really changing enough, and we kind of did like a little bit of a 180, maybe like a Foxygen move, or like a, you know, an old Beatles move, and like just changing chords to like a kind of like this psychedelic, like, you know, different part, which was awesome. But besides that, that's the only thing I can think of when it came to him changing the songs. We walked in very prepared, and he liked all the songs, and he didn't really change them too much. I can't think unless
It's very like, if it ain't broke,
don't.
Which is admirable, because you're essentially paying a guy to come in and change your songs, or affect them. And a lot of producers, I think that goes to their head, and they think that they're like, I am the man, therefore
I have
these
to
people,
change something.
I must do something. Yeah, you know, and it's like, can't get out of the way of themselves, almost. Not that we have experience with people like that, but you know, that is could be a accurate stereotype. And Nathan was just not like that. He was just like,
He honed in on some things like drum beats, and that's the thing. He's like, this song, you know, I remember like our bass player was gonna pick up his like Stingray, or, you know, kind of like bass guitar. He's like, that's a bad move. He's like, this song needs, you know, like a P bass, or like a
Fender P bass.
yeah, like you know, just like that's what it needs. And he's like, what? Wait, I'm gonna go and find one. Walks around the studio and finds one, kind of thing, you know, like so. But like, that being said, I don't think he might have changed some grooves, like beats, and he added, you know, like some percussion in like very necessary spots that you don't notice on the record, but once you take them out, you're like, oh, the whole song just like really simple stuff to make the song, like the album, feel bigger and kind of where we wanted to take the songs, I think. So
You mentioned that you'd come into the studio pretty much fully prepared with the songs completed. I guess that was, obvious in how quickly you recorded it. You guys apparently recorded it only like 20 days or so, which was compared to, I think it was like 6 months to your previous album, as far as how long it took to record. Essentially, was that the plan going in? Did it just work out that way, or
no? We want to bang it off. It's taxing to try to record an album. Like, okay, let's do a weekend here, and hey, are you free on Sunday? Are you free on Wednesday, guys? Like, you know, like, how about everyone just clears, like, you know, 3 weeks off their plate, and we just get it done.
Yeah, and we were like, let's move, because we live on Vancouver Island, so it's about a 2-hour ferry ride to Vancouver. So we're like, let's rent a house just down from, like, close to the studio. Let's live there, you know. If we want our girlfriends or spouses to come out, like, we'll just bring them to the house, and that'll be where we base it, and we'll get up every morning and eat and drink and sleep the record. And then I think that was the goal, to get a cohesive, just like lock the energy in, hopefully don't go crazy by the end of it. And we always wanted to do that. It's you know, budget sometimes restrains you, or the idea that a budget can restrain you is almost as restraining as a budget. And this turned out to be probably like our cheapest, I don't know, is it like a
Definitely didn't cost us a lot of money to make this record, because I think because we were just so prepared, and like, and Nathan did it for like a reasonable price without being like, and everyone on board was, I think really stoked on it. We didn't spend a crazy amount of money. So
Similar to like I remember the producer David Botterill telling me one time that when you have an unlimited budget, an unlimited amount of time, and unlimited options, as you have these days in the studio, it can harm the record. Essentially, at a certain point, you start making changes just because you can, and it doesn't become better. As he put it doesn't become better; it just becomes different.
very true.
And like, did you find with this that self-imposed constraint, did that help the record?
I hope so. I hope that, like, we always called it getting too inside the record. When you get too inside, you can't really think anymore, and you can't make like the proper call, because anything that changes you just think sounds better because it's different all of a sudden. But I don't think we gave ourselves a chance really to let anything be different, because we moved from one song to the next so quickly. And when we would recall the mix, it was just a random mix. We never had like, it was just like let's keep on piling on stuff, like pile on what needs to be on the song. And then when it came to mixing, we got the mix. We're like, okay, sounds good. And it's just
we're like, Nathan, do you want to just? We're gonna hire a really expensive mixer. Why don't you just mix it? Send us a mix. And we all agreed that we were just gonna be like, if this thing sounds good, like, let's not be too picky. We all know we did pretty good performances, and so he'd send us mixes, and we were just like, sounds great. So we definitely were like, let's just work on the feel more than the than like just freaking beating yourself. It's tough.
Yeah, because I do find the 6-month recordings is when you do start just, I think that it's healthy to just get in and get it done and move on. But that being said, next year when we record a new record, who knows how we're going to do it, because I feel like every time we record a record we do it differently, and walking away from this record I'm like, why would you record a record any other way? But the thing is, there's so many different ways to record a record, so yeah, we'll see.
I guess to kind of get away from the record for a second, kind of looking back, this comes up because Canadian Music Week is starting this week, obviously, and with that there's the huge kind of industry conference, and as always at these things there's countless sessions on promoting ourselves on social media and how to use the internet tools, and there'll be like 80 conference sessions just about social media. And but you guys, from what I've read about your guys' history, you had a really online kind of fan propelled grassroots thing going on that really helped you pick up steam earlier in your career. Did you guys really have a part in that, or was that a conscious thing that you guys generated, or is that something that really just was out of your hands?
I would say that they're out of that more luck than us consciously being. At least Dave and I don't think we're that computer savvy. We, do you agree? Or we tried our best, but I think
you could pick out the moment that I remember, the moment that social media became a thing, and it was the band at that time was Scott and I, with our original bass player Louie, Mike, our original drummer, and Kyle, who was the harmonica player, and Kyle was like going to school for business and marketing, and he was pretty into that. Yeah. And we thought that marketing or pushing yourself was not cool. Like, we were like, the idea of like putting yourself out there wasn't something we thought was like cool. I don't think we really thought that was like that cool to do. And I remember him telling us about MySpace. He's like, sign us up for this website. It's called MySpace, and we have a profile. And we're like, what? That is so stupid. And he he thought that this was a marketing tool that was great, and we thought it was stupid. And MySpace obviously took off, and then Facebook came in, and by then we were like, oh, this is obviously helping us. But I also remember he was the one that he was on the computer emailing people, and he got us on like I'm pretty sure he's to be credited for putting us on a Oakley compilation CD that went into like a Brazilian surf magazines. Like, they were slipped in each each surf mag, and there's like, you know, a circulation of like 50,000 copies. So that planted the seed in Brazil for us back in like 2005, which is brewed there, you know, with their online and just sharing music for us to be able to now go there and headline shows.
Yeah.
And it's bizarre. So
Like you guys had a sold out tour of Brazil in 2012, I think it was, which seems almost bizarre in a way, but it makes sense now that I hear kind of a little bit how that happened. But
yeah, it's kind of cool to think how it happened, but it does not make sense. Like,
No,
and like,
especially when you see it, you know, we're like, we heard about like, oh yeah, a lot of people always writing, come to Brazil, and then when you actually go there, it was like, what the hell? This is amazing. But you know, we are very grateful. We love Brazil. We can't wait to go back. We're going back in September, so we're excited.
and then just another pumping of the tires. Kyle, our old harmonica player, you know, basically opened the door to Brazil for us, and to social media, which helped us grow. But he also taught me how to play harmonica, so now I'm like, you know, I'm playing.
So we fired him.
So we and it's cool. It's cool to think like, you know, he was like, he knew he was stepping aside, and he passed. Like, I got a couple lessons from him, and he had gotten lessons from Charlie Musselwhite. So I thought like, hey, in one small way, Charlie Musselwhite gave me my chops. What's up?
Call me.
Call me Charlie. No, just joking.
And lastly, kind of a general thing here, but your guys' sound with the whole, I guess, harkening back to 60s folk, 70s folk rock, it seems to be a sound that never goes away. It's perpetually kind of in the music consciousness, and even over the last, it seems like 5 or 6 years or so, it's grown or kind of had a renaissance even more. The obvious being like Lumineers and Mumford and Sons, but then there's Fleet Foxes and Half Moon Run and loads of bands. Like, what is it about this sound that's, is there something about it that you think is the reason it never goes away, that always comes back and attaches, every generation seems to find it?
Good question.
I think it's just good songs. You know, like people, if you write a good song, people are gonna want to listen to it. You know, like, and at least that's what I hope it is. You know, like,
Yeah,
you know, like there's a lot of bands that, like, you know, I'm not like, you know, I'm not like a massive fan of, but like I'll listen to it and be like, that is a good song. Like that song's full of hooks. It's simple, but it's, you know, like just really good, and it sounds great, and it's like anyone can listen to it. Anyone can put it on and listen to it. Maybe that's it. I don't know, but
I think it's I just thought of something while you were just saying that. I was like, I think maybe it was like some of the best music was like some of that early blues music, you know, which I think really influenced a lot of songwriters to think, and like the whole kind of music business, to recording music business to start, and sprung a bunch of crappy songs, like a lot of, you know, it was like kind of trying to market to the most people that they could, and then eventually, I don't know, like come the 60s, or I'm not a music history buff, but, you know, come the 60s or maybe even the late 60s or 70s, it was like breaking away from the mainstream was what was happening. It was like it's a revolution of all sorts, and so you got people that are making music not for the fact that they want the song to be famous, but they want to say something, or they want to do something, or feel that they're doing something. Like, hey, let's get together with our friends and thrash out and feel like we're we're gonna change something, even if it's just our own consciousness. So I think that was what our parents kind of, you know, our parents, or, you know, like some people's like grandparents, or would have just witnessed that, and then now we've been past those stories and told about those times, and just they've shared that music with us. You know, like you go dip into your parents' record collection and you listen to some of these songs from some of those records around that time, and that's what sticks. So I think it's like you can't let that's not going to go away. And I feel like such a challenging time in history, it's like it's really cool to. I think that's kind of why everyone gravitates to that stuff, because it's honest and true songs about stuff that people care about, and the feeling is there. And we just try to. You can't help but want to emulate, to be as great as songs that are from the heart and have a feeling in the music. So how about that?
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good answer.
That was a great
I was
answer.
just thinking about that.
Fantastic. And
It's going nowhere.
no, man, I liked it. Anyways, guys, with that, we'll wrap up here. But current Swell, the new album Ulysses is out now. Fantastic. Check it out. Guys, just thanks for giving me your time today. It was a real pleasure.
Sure, man. Thanks for having us.
Cheers, man. Appreciate it. Cheers, man.